Well, hello everybody. To give you a bit of a background about myself, I'm Natalie Frangi, the founder and CEO. And my background, I'm a computational chemist, nothing to do with tech or dating for that fact. And I have with me Chara Dela, and she's the co-founder and CMO.
Hi, everyone.
So to tell you a bit of background of how the whole idea came to be, how we ended up creating NUit. The idea came to life back in 2014, but I was still a researcher. And how it transpired, having lived in different continents, lived in the US, in Europe, in the Middle East, one common thing I found when sitting around the table meeting new people was always the subject of astrology. People asking, what's your sun sign? And when I realized with that is that it gave a sense of familiarity to people, understanding who you are, your behavior. So I was still sort of a skeptic, being a scientist. It wasn't until in 2013 that I had an astrologer who sort of wanted to make me a believer, told me, how about I give you a full astrology reading? And he pulled out my chart. Of course, me being a scientist, seeing, their numbers and
all the math behind it.
Yes,
right?
and all the math behind it. He gave me a personality reading, and then he went ahead and gave me a compatibility reading with my partner at that time. And I was blown away. I mean, I realized how much you can learn about a person, about yourself, and learn about the person and the relationship. And then I realized, because having used also dating app, that how interesting it would be to provide that to people. I mean, you don't get to know about the person. You don't get to know about how they are or their behavior. And it was just simple. I mean, you didn't need to fill out a good number of questions to get a personality report. The only thing you needed was birth details, the hour, and the location. And you got a full understanding. Of course, you required an astrologer. But what we did is to find a way to bring it digitally to people. And this is how the idea came. And we ended up launching it until 2019. So like I said, that one of the things that, astrology does is it gives you the sense of familiarity, of like having something as a
icebreaking
approach to talk to people. And one additional thing is that it gives a holistic approach to relationship. So in order to have a healthy relationship, it requires first to understand yourself, and then understand the other person and the aspect of a relationship. And astrology does that. And it's simple. Like I said, you just need 3 things and you get all this information. And one thing we realized is that, in a sense, NUit was acting as the psychoanalyst because it was giving you a personality report. We provide people with compatibility score, therefore acting as a matchmaker, and we provide them advice, therefore acting as a relationship advisor.
Because what astrology does, even if you get low scores on compatibility, is not a no-go for the person you want to date. It's really about giving you kind of like a SWOT analysis of the relationship, or where you need to work, where you need to focus in order for the relationship to evolve and grow. And this is very important because people in ages of uncertainty, of isolation that we went through COVID, what they truly need is companionship and guidance. So we created a product that offers this. It offers recurring guidance, and it helps people also evolve and grow on a personal level, but also at the same time know how to navigate through their relationships and make them flourish.
And, the thing is, like I said, having traveled different countries, realized that astrology was part of every culture. Is furthermore now that you have so many Gen Z and millennials using astrology, and it's becoming part of the daily life. And they revert back to astrology to understand the strength of a relationship. And you have also that's becoming sort of mainstream, where you have Netflix, HBO, and Snapchat incorporating astrology. I mean, we even have Tinder and Bumble having a sun sign part of their profile building. And during the process, we realized also that, since we are an astrology dating app, we were providing astrology content. And what this was doing is that it was allowing people to constantly get engaged. Every time there was, every day there's some sort of events, they would go back into the app and they would check their forecast. So people who were no longer interested in dating, they were still using it as an astrology tool. And we found that as well, that they were also using it to access their birth chart. So for example, if they were with their friends and they wanted to see where the positioning of their planets was, they would open NUit and check their birth chart. So what we realized is that we were solving the continuity problem that a lot of dating apps face, where once people meet, they drop the app and they no longer use it. With us, they were still using it as a standalone astrology tool.
So from that, we saw a lot of reduction to churn rates and a lot of higher retention rates by providing educational content and daily content and forecasts. So we, as founders of a niche dating app, what we would advise other founders, that something we discovered in the process, is that if you have a niche product that caters to a specific audience or has a specific concept, of course, it's great if you can implement some kind of daily content that can be renewed and it gives value to your users, because this can help you reduce churn rates and have them use it continually as a tool, even if they meet their match. That's basically an overview of our product. So all you need to do, as Natalie said, is just enter your birth details and enjoy the app experience. NUit will land you on our Explore section, where you can find new connections all around the globe. We didn't make our app hyper localized as most dating apps do, because we found that our users cared mostly to meet their like-minded perfect match, and it could be anywhere around the world. We have a lot of successful stories that ended up in marriage, and they were from people from different continents. We also have the friendship aspect in the app, so people actually started asking us to open it more and let them explore their potential match. So after you just put your birth details, you can explore new people in your vicinity or anywhere around the world. You can get personality reports based on your astrology chart, which helps you for better self and social discovery. We give you compatibility scores and insights on romance, friendship, business, and magnetism. We're kind of like the Bumble of astrology in this sense, from the way we match people. And we're giving you the relationship advice and guidance. Of course, people can connect through chat and get their daily astrological content.
And what we did as well, because we realized that sometimes you might not have people who are very well versed in astrology, and you have those who are much more. So what we did is to bridge the gap between sort of the beginning and the beginners and the expert, was to provide astrology in a sort of educational way,
and digestible way,
and
right?
digestible. So we made something what we call like a, sort of beginner and advanced. So for people who knew a bit about astrology, they can access that, which we gave them in a digestible way. And then the more advanced for people who are more experts, so they can have the full chart, they can look at the placement, aspect, and houses. So we sort of, in order to make everybody happy, and at the same time bridge the gap and bring people together, the beginners and the expert, and have a common ground to discuss. So that's another thing that we had also people become sort of advocates for our app, because they were sharing it on the social media and saying, oh, people who are interested to learn more about astrology, please use NUit, and it breaks it down in a manner that you can understand. So we were getting, people who wanted to learn about astrology, people who wanted to meet people for friends, dating, and we were sort of bridging between the sort of beginner, expert, daters, skeptics, all in one platform.
And of course, what makes a product excel in the market is your UVPs. We created a unique proprietary astrology algorithm that matches people in 4 categories, as we mentioned before. And by giving these personalized and daily horoscopes, custom reports, and calculations that people can do on their own, we created a standalone astrology app that is solving the continuity problem, as we mentioned before. And we're within our next plans is also implementing the AI in our app for our verification systems for safety, to face scammers is one of the common pain points of dating app founders, and to tailor-made matching suggestions so we can cater to people with suggesting matches in a better way.
So just to add on before, so one of the things that we said that we made it sort of a standalone app is that for the custom report is for people who are not per se on NUit, and you want to calculate with them. We gave the tool where you can sort of calculate to find your compatibility and then share that to people. So you didn't need to use it solely for let's say dating, but you can add the other features, like you can calculate with a company, you can calculate with friends, you can calculate with your child, let's say an animal,
your favorite celebrity,
your favorite celebrity. So we gave it as a tool extra to just sort of the dating. This way we call it matching, because it's sort of, any type of relationship, being business relationship, friendship relationship, or a romantic one. And we believe a relationship is not just, sort of romantic, because anytime you are in a committed relationship for marriage, you have the friendship aspect. You are, you're friends with your partner. There's a business aspect. You're still dealing with finances within a household. So this is why we sort of broke it down into providing, the 4 categories in order to encompass and make it holistic sort of relationship.
So we found that what really helps a niche dating app grow or be establish itself in the market is the presence of community. We haven't done any paid marketing yet, and our community, by being able to solve the main pain points of our users and bring value, it created users to advocate for us, to become our evangelists. And we managed to be featured within the 5 fastest growing niche dating apps worldwide, and voted within the best dating apps within our communities for women, for LGBTQ and astrology community. And we have already, our hero metric actually is our number of compatibility calculations. We're currently at 9 million, and it's growing at more than 400% every month, which is unbelievably something that makes us really happy, bringing people together. But most of all is the marriage stories that were shared from our users, the success and love stories. And currently...
And the thing is that what we provided so far is just the first layer. I mean, there's so much more that astrology can provide. And, just our within our pipeline, it just keeps users interested in the aspect and sort of what astrology can provide, because it has several facets that you can add to that, people are not yet, people who are into astrology are not fully sort of aware, because what they know is just the, the sun sign. But there's so much information that you can give. And further testament to that is that, Carl Jung, the father of psychoanalysis and the student of Sigmund Freud, used actually astrology to
break down the personality archetypes.
And we're currently now we're actually raising our first round of investment, and we sort of got a commitment from a VC in Dubai, and hopefully we can close our round and further provide additional features for our users who are
be able to grow our app, and
who are continuously advocating for us, and and helping us push sometimes through hard times. So this is for now, and thank you very much. Let me escape from here. Let me stop sharing. Yes. Okay.
We found it, Mark.
Yes.
Jolly good. Got a few questions for you. Hey, congrats about. Good luck with Dubai with the VC raise. That's. I'd love to run that article on OPW when you're ready to announce what's coming up. I don't want to jinx it. Good. That's great news. Right, so I've got a few questions for you. Let's have a look here. First one would be, what content has worked best for you to get people to re-engage when they leave the app? Meaning, they're on the app, you've got them on your notifications, and you've got a kind of some pretty unique content. What have you found works best to get them to come back and be on the app?
Yeah, so when they leave the app, apart from the standard notifications that we send our dating apps that might be based on location or something great that is happening, more matches joining, etc. On the astrology part, it helped us a lot, the fact that astrology has daily content that can refresh through the horoscopes. So we're giving mini predictions based on events that are happening in the sky a specific day, but in a digestible way. We will tell you something that is really unique to you, is personalized, and it's happening at that moment. So people join the app to read more about their horoscope of the day, or actually we're giving them a call to action on how it's best to engage with people.
Great. That's unique content, isn't it? That's what people really love. One of their favorite subjects on themselves.
It's something necessary, guys.
Self-discovery.
Yes.
So I've got a question from Robert Helmreich, who's from Lemon Swan. Where does the content of the daily horoscope come from? Do you create it by your own, or on your own, or do you get the content from astrology sites via API? If so, which source do you use?
So we used to have an API source that we
initially
were
in the beginning, yeah, because we were shorthanded.
Yes.
But we have, I mean, she's an astrologer. We have our own astrologer based out of, you know, she's in San Diego. So the content that we get is us, and we push it.
We personalize it. Basically, on the horoscope is common for everyone, but then we have another section in the app that is called Daily Traits, and it has to do, is super personalized based on your whole astrology chart, and we generate it through our proprietary algorithm based API on your whole chart, so it's really unique to you.
So what we've done is we've created our own astrological algorithm, and we feed that as an API into our back end. And with that, we have also the daily traits that are personalized to the person's details, birth details. So every day this changes, and the thing is that we incorporate only the first layer, so that there's some that change by hour.
Yes.
That we will provide that later with additional features, paid features.
Great, good stuff. Another question from Arena Brooks, editor of Online Personals Watch. Do you have any strategies in place to ensure that users are honest about their birthday?
I didn't hear the last part.
If they're honest about their birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we encourage users actually to provide their real details, because if they don't, they're not going to get the right birth chart, the right astrology chart. So all of their reading, the report that we provide in the app, even for their personality or their compatibility, is going to be completely off. So there would be no point in using NUit if they don't do that. Yeah. We had a discussion also with astrology app founders, and they were saying the same thing. There's no way you can force a user to put the real birth details if they don't, but you have to educate them why it's so important to actually do it if they want to get the whole value out of it.
And we also give, like, sometimes people might not know their birth hour, because, you know, they don't have access to their birth certificate, whatever. And we tell them that, you know, they can put a specific time, which is noon, or closer to what they might know, so they can get the most accurate. But we tell them that if you don't get your birth hour exactly, then you're not going to get the most accurate.
We're explaining to them what is going to be missing from their birth chart, or what will not seem so accurate. So we're trying to a lot of educational content that needs to be provided.
Sorry?
Is it on the birth certificate? How do you find out the actual moment of birth?
Well, at least in the US, there is a time of birth usually on the birth certificate. So we have a lot of users who are telling us, "Oh, I'm going to go get my birth certificate because
or I'm going to ask my mom, or I'm going to ask my mom."
Mama's going to know.
Yes.
So Jean-Marc, let me sure I've got the name. Jean-Marc LaRouche, who's the CEO of Stanford Capital, asks, astrology is mostly a girl thing. So let me just question that. Is it a girl thing? And also, how do you convince guys to sign up in order to balance the database?
Okay.
Is that assumption correct?
That's a nice question.
It is mostly a woman product, woman-centered. And, you know, I guess we all know that in the dating industry, you know, when women come in, men tend to follow. I mean, Bumble, you know, it started as a woman-centered product. They had 70% for, you know, women and 30% men, and now sort of flipped. They have this 70% men, 30% women, and they're trying to sort of come back to having sort of an equilibrium. With us, I don't think we're going to ever face that problem, because, you know, it's always going to be a balance. And one thing that also we've got inside information from other astrology apps, which the pattern. And apparently what they found is that a lot of men were coming in order to use astrology so they can have a sort of a starter, like every time they would meet a woman that they could talk about astrology. And so they would learn in order conversation, so they would find some common ground. So we know that's not going to be a problem, because, you know, we provide educational, and you know, since women are in, men tend to follow, and also they learn about it, and they have something to be able to talk with women who are into astrology.
But two things that will answer this question is that we did notice that 3 years ago when we first launched, the deviation was too big.
Yeah.
Now, because astrology is becoming pop culture and something mainstream, and we see that most of millennials and Gen Z, regardless their gender, are actually adopting it and believing in it and using it. we saw difference in our rates. Like we have more men than we used to. Although women are more, more and more men come in. And we saw a huge adoption by the LGBTQ plus community.
And we had also to introduce something that also we learned. We had to introduce the third gender, or the non-binary, because when we first launched, we launched 2 gender, and then we've had like the whole astrology community say, I cannot believe nowadays you have an astrology dating app that doesn't take into consideration non-binary. So we were like started researching it to understand, and now what we have is like we have a good balance. I mean, we have 55, 35, and 10% non-binary. So before we started with 70% women.
Yes.
And now we're sort of bridging the gap between the men and women.
Exactly.
Looks like I've got one more question for you.
Mm-hmm.
From Arsen Kazabekov, who is CEO and founder of Sana.
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about selling your functionality to other applications as an embedded service?
Yes, yes, we have. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we want to have in sort of the pipeline is, a lot of companies, and we actually had a talk 2 days ago with which was a company. They're saying that they were not hired unless they have the birth details of the person, so they can do an astrology chart and see if there's a compatibility. So we know for a fact in Germany as well, there are a lot of companies that do implement, sort of
astrology, their HR department.
In the HR department. So one of the things that we would like to also provide is our API to, HR services, so they can
break down some personality traits, or in the terms of having some team games, team building, understanding better how behaviors and tendencies work, or break down some archetypes in a fun way, of course. You have to, give.
But would you work with a dating app? Would you enable a dating app on your functionality?
With another dating app? Yes, we could. Why not? In an extension of, so if they're providing, if they care to merge somehow our UVPs of providing more in-depth personality insights and the compatibility part, and they want to implement astrology as well on the sites, or of course, we could talk about it.
You're a good sport. That's great. No, why would you enable a competitor? It depends, doesn't it? I think it's worth your while. And maybe they're in a non-competitive market. Maybe there's a two-way street there as well. With your comment about HR, it's quite interesting because it's almost like the dating industry has kind of this, has always alluded to HR. You find people for love, you find people for work. It looks like an obvious corollary. And yet I can't think of anybody who's really succeeded in doing that. eHarmony was very interested in extending out to the jobs market, and they had an attempt, but I don't think it was a strong enough attempt really to make that switch. But what you've got actually sounds quite appealing. But on the other hand, is it really your forte? Is it really your main core business? So is it a distraction?
On the extension though of our business section of the app, I think. May I add something here? There is a distorted perception about astrology. And most people that are skeptics, or they just don't follow it, they usually say that you cannot be the same sign and have the same traits as every other Gemini or Cancer, or you name it. And the other thing they say is that astrology cannot tell you exactly that this person is like that, and then you go follow it blindly. No. On the first debate, what we're saying is that you're not just your sun sign, you have a whole astrology chart the minute you're born, and it's so unique to you that there's 1 in a million possibility that someone else has exactly the same. So if people knew that and they took a look actually to how much information it gives you about personality, they would be mesmerized. And there's an ancient knowledge here that all civilizations were sharing. That's not random. So this is one thing. And the second thing is that astrology doesn't tell you not to do something, or that you're this and that and it's de facto, right? It's just giving you some insights about the personality, the behavioral tendencies, and for compatibility as well, it's just giving you some advice or where you should work on, work with the energies, the flows of the universe in your advantage.
And to bring back about the subject of HR, I mean, again, we're dealing here is what astrology provides is a personality breakdown, how the person is. So, for example, when we hire people, I always look at their chart. We always look at their chart and see, okay, you know, this person, we can see compatibility there. We might have a clash there. And so having, you know, companies do that, it's not far-fetched because you're dealing again with people
and you know where
behavior,
to work on, right?
Where
and
people
how to
might
motivate
clash.
people.
Exactly. So doing sort of getting a breakdown of the personality, or also doing sort of a compatibility with the coworker, it's not far-fetched because again, it is a relationship. It's a work relationship. You're still dealing with the person's behavior, their like and dislike, how their tendencies.
So we're just showing you how to make it work, right?
So transitioning to that, I don't see it like, you know, sort of far-fetched, and that's why we said like in the future, like providing our API for, you know, companies to use in HR. But yeah, I mean, this is sort of.